Asim Munir is in control, fair enough, but things aren't back to normal. I think, that's a punchline for it. So, but there's one thing I don't understand. You created a monster, and then you call the monster. Then you let it run rampage across the country, and then you vilify him, break him, this, that, ego, and everything like that. And this is bang in the open. Nobody's such a fool ki pata hi nahi ho raha kya ho raha hai and all that stuff. They lost half the country. They left their soldiers in Kargil. They lied to the country, and which is pretty well evident today about 65. They also themselves, yeah, we've not won anything. 47, the dreams of Kashmir gone. Kashmir, nothing. How come the Pakistani army has been able to keep that aura of this thing? Why have they not been vilified and thrown out, sort of a thing? If a politician would have done that, he would have been hung 16 times by now.
That's a question which has troubled my mind tremendously too. When I wrote a recent article in the media, which went quite viral everywhere, this is the one thing which I questioned, to which I didn't find an answer myself. That is that after losing half the nation, as you very correctly say, in 71, uh, and having kept the nation in a state of uh, turmoil all these years, having lost the competition with its main rival as India, economic terms, after having had a great head start. If you remember, in
Mhm.
the 60s, the economy of Pakistan was far, far superior to that of India. Having all that, how come the Pakistan army has continued to remain popular in Pakistan? See, one of the prime reasons perhaps I could put my finger to is the fact that Pakistan has simply lacked a political leadership. There's no one of stature. I mean, Bhutto came. Bhutto perhaps was one guy who could have carried on and achieved some level of greatness within Pakistan. Perhaps, I'm not sure, but he lasted 6 years, 5 years,
Five
and
years.
after that he was overthrown and hung to death. Otherwise, if you look at it, who has been a leader in Pakistan? No one of any substance. Nawaz Sharif is a businessman from Punjab, and I'm not sure how he even shared space internationally with leaders of substance anywhere. Benazir Bhutto, yes, she had the education, she had the articulation, she had the personality, etc., but not the capability.
Mhm.
Once again, and she came back repeatedly, never completed a term like all prime ministers in Pakistan, kept coming back, and each of those terms was hardly a success at all. It was more the glamour of her personality which kept her going, nothing more. So it was. I mean, once Zia died, who has been there? Has been either Benazir or there's been Nawaz Sharif, and
Nawaz
in between
Sharif.
some forgettable prime ministers. Otherwise, there's been no leadership at all. And in the absence of that kind of availability of a leadership of tall leaders, etc., you find the Pakistan army stepping in into that vacuum which has been there. In India, look at the kind of leaders you've had. I mean, regionally, every region of India has had hugely tall leaders. And many of them come to Delhi, and at Delhi, at the central level, they've risen to some to very high stature. This is the difference. Why has the Indian army been apolitical? Because the Indian political leadership has been high quality, and the Indian army never ever felt the necessity, or it's not a part of our culture. And, but the culture developed in Pakistan because of the requirements, perhaps, and that's the reason why the people kept going back to the army, or kept looking at the army to deliver them from this evil as far as the political leaders were concerned. That's the only reason what I can think of. But today, there is virtual exasperation. Post COVID, particularly post the climate change issues, the floods which have happened, the number of internally displaced people who have come out, this whole issue of the street turbulence, the takeover of the Islamabad, the entrance to Islamabad, the streets of Lahore, the streets of Rawalpindi and Karachi by different elements of the Pakistan mafia. All this has left people in a state of despair, actually. When I spoke to some of senior army officers on track two, many of them off the table admitted that even they feel, as senior army officers retired and living a retired life, they feel threatened. They feel threatened by some people who exist in the street there. So perhaps this
Wow.
needs a much deeper analysis by someone who's a psychoanalyst or something like that to really look at, or a sociologist, etc., to look at the Pakistan civil military relationship. I'm not sure much has been written on it. Someone like Aisha Siddiqa is brilliant. She's very good at this kind of a thing. I've met her so many times, discussed so many times with her, questioned her so many times, and always a pleasure receiving her responses. She's the kind of person who can perhaps give you better answers.
I'm sorry, but your answers put in so many more questions in my head. I was thinking of one and then the second, third. It's quite a funny thing that you have a country and a politician. And I'm going to talk at a very philosophical level, sir. Before these are two questions I have, and the first one is a bit of a philosophical thing. You have a set of politicians in a country that know their future. I will cross a line and I will be hung just like my brother, my sister, my uncle, my auntie. But all of them still angle for that top job in Pakistan. Imran Khan went through the whole grind and he was ground to the ground. I mean, ground to dust. He still wants to become the prime minister again. What is in that chair that they want to fight the Almighty in Pakistan, Pakistani army? What is in that chair, sir?
Hey, Adi, this is a natural human instinct. I wouldn't make this a Pakistani characteristic. It's a natural human instinct where there are some people who have that tendency, the propensity to take a risk and look at positions of power. Lots of, I mean, in a set of 100 people, you will find two or three people who will emerge with this kind of a characteristic.
Hmm.
Can take a risk, get into it, and think that they've got it in them to be able to take the problem by its neck and be able to lead in front. Imran is one of those. He's done it in cricket, right? Right. He's done it in the form of creating the PTI. I mean, it's not an easy job putting
Mhm.
together a new party and taking it to where it has gone. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party is, after all, 1996 was when it was created. Just out of the blue, it came up, and it used to win one seat, half a seat somewhere or something like that. Out of the blue in 2018, see that he's been able to get it together. So obviously, a sense of self-confidence has come in him, and no doubt he's a very pleasant personality. You are blessed by God with all these things: pleasant personality, a fair amount of money, a good sense of articulation, reasonable amount of education, and already on a pedestal where the public is looking at you as a, the leader in India and Pakistan. You know what cricket is all about. So it's as if you are naturally made for leadership, and that is what probably brought Imran Khan to this situation. Whether he is ultimately capable or not, whether he's allowed, I'm not quite certain whether Imran Khan was permitted to function the way he wanted to function. That's one of the reasons why he came to, grief with the Pakistan army. But because the Pakistan army wants to make sure that economy and national security affairs are in its hands, right? And this is something which Imran Khan wanted to have it in his hands. So obviously, there was no sense of compromise on this. No one wanted to compromise on this. This the Pakistan army was clear, and Bajwa was a strong personality. It's after all with Bajwa that this whole thing started. He's a very
Mhm.
strong personality. So at the end of the day, whether Imran Khan goes, you will find someone else coming in, and there will be enough contenders. Shah Mahmood Qureshi is waiting in the wings, right? And I can
Jahangir
tell you,
Tera.
Shah Mahmood Qureshi, I remember in 2611, the kind of blood was boiling at that time. I still remember. I was commanding the Baramulla division, deeply involved with counter-terror operations, and you can imagine the kind of sentiments one has when you're functioning in command of troops in a city area like that. And here was the Pakistan foreign minister making statements saying कि हमारे 2% का जवाब है ये आपके लिए. That's what he said to India.
Yeah.
ये हमारा 2% का जवाब है आपके लिए. So people like him will always have the ambition to come back and take charge and perhaps think that he can get the better of the Pakistan army.